there, friends. Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and I've got Calla here with me today to talk to you about a book that is really, really special because it is by an author that is one of my favorite contemporary authors ever. I have 5 total. It's hard. If you ask me a favorite book or favorite author, I'm never able to narrow it down to just one. So I have gotten it down to 5, and this author is one of my top 5 favorite contemporary authors. So I am really excited to talk to you about this book. I wanted to read it first and make sure before I go gushing about it that it holds up to some of their other books, and it definitely does. So I am really excited to talk with you about this book today, which is The Bones Beneath My Skin by T.J. Klune. Now, you might recognize this name, T.J. Klune, because he wrote the very, very popular The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is an absolutely phenomenal book. And then the follow-up book to that, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. And he's written a couple other books as well, In the Lives of Puppets, Under the Whispering Door, and this is his newest book. I say newest because basically T.J. Klune published a lot of his books independently before he got really big and before Tor picked him up. So this was a book that actually came out a few years ago that he published independently, and it just recently was re-released rather, through Tor Publishing, which is his mainstream publisher now. So while this book is not technically new, it's new to a lot of readers because it's being brought out to a bigger reading audience now, which is amazing. So The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I've done videos about before, is just such an amazing book because it's like getting a warm hug. I first read it right in the beginning of the pandemic, and it was exactly what I needed. It had a beautiful, sweet, whimsical story, a found family, really great themes of, kindness, togetherness, being connected to each other, and that was one of the things that really drew me into it. This book has some very similar themes to it, even if the story is completely different. But I will definitely say that if you are a fan of his previous works, particularly The House in the Cerulean Sea, I think you will love this book. And the reason why I say that is because, like A House in the Cerulean Sea, this book also has a precocious child that is just a delight to read about. So what is this book about? Well, first of all, it takes place in the 90s, 1995. Boom. Already talking about the best decade there, in my opinion. So anything that takes place in the 90s, I'm excited about. So this features a journalist named Nate, who has basically he's hit rock bottom. He has just lost his job. He had this really great job in the city. He lost his job. His parents have died. And his brother doesn't want anything to do with him. He doesn't speak to him. So he basically has nothing and no one. He has inherited from his parents this house, this cabin, in Oregon. So he's traveling across the country to go to this house to sort of regroup. He's going to take some time. He's going to lay low, gather himself back together, pick himself back up on his feet, and move on. Only when he gets to the cabin, it's not empty, even though it really should have been empty. There's a man there. His name is Alex, and he's got a little girl with him, a girl who calls herself Artemis Darth Vader. And they are on the run. And what they are on the run from is basically the government or government agents. And Artemis Darth Vader, has this incredible story that I'm not going to give a lot away with because I don't want to spoil it. But she is special. She is more than just an ordinary little girl. And Alex is her protector. And they are on the run. And Nate has to decide, when he first gets there and he meets these people, he's like, oh my God, I need to call the police. There's this guy here, this random dude. He kidnapped this little girl, obviously. And, this is some craziness here. But as he gets to know them, he realizes that Artemis is more than what she seems. And that Alex is more than what he seems. Because Artemis starts displaying these abilities. We'll just call them that. And Nate has to decide whether he wants to help them and inject some enthusiasm and joy and fresh air back into his life, or if he just wants to continue to just eke by and, not really feel anything the way he has. So this is a story. It is such a wonderful mashup of genres. Okay, so you've got action. This is definitely an action story. There's a lot of action in this book. It is a mystery as well. It is a sci-fi. It's a little bit of fantasy, but mostly sci-fi. You've got a really tender-hearted, a little bit of a romance as well, okay, between Nate and Alex. But you've also got this really deep human story of grief and grieving for a lot of different things. Like Nate is grieving his parents, but he's also grieving them because he's grieving of the relationship that they should have had that broke apart. He's grieving the loss of his brother who doesn't speak to him anymore. He's grieving the loss of his job. He's grieving the loss of his entire existence and starting over again. So grief is definitely a very big part of this book. And how do you move on from grief? How do you carry it with you into your day-to-day lives and keep going forward? But it's also very funny too. If you've ever read anything by TJ Klune before, you know he has this really wacky, quirky sense of humor that is totally in its full vibrancy here in this book, especially with the character of Artemis Darth Vader. I would die for that girl, not to be dramatic, but I would die for this character. She is so incredible. She's hilarious. She's eccentric. I love her to death. And you will too. I know you will as soon as you read this book. So whether you are a person who already really loves TJ Klune stories or whether this is your first exposure to him, I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And also it's a standalone. So if you haven't read anything by him before and you're just looking for a one and done book, it's a fully contained story with a great ending. And I think it is something that everyone and anyone can enjoy and get something out of. The Bones Beneath My Skin. Well, that's what we've got for you guys today. I hope that this book sounds really awesome and that you might want to give this author a try. And if you have already given him a try and you've read some of his other works, definitely read this one because it's absolutely one of his best. You can pick this book up at Farmington Community Library, so please feel free to come and check it out from there. And also just thank you so very much for watching, friends, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.